Okay, guys, what you're looking at here is something that I always wanted to get, but was pretty hard to find um, because they people in the recent years, I'll say the past 4, 5, 6 years or longer, really, have been holding on to these guitars. And for the longest time, these weren't necessarily considered expensive guitars because originally the company that made this guitar had this brand as their basically their entry level to the company, and their concept on making these guitars was to make a guitar that rivaled the premium Epiphones, and just basically trying to do all they can to make it as close as they can to a Les Paul as possible, but with a very, very lower, so to speak, price. I was going to say something else, but pretty much a lower price. Um, so basically, what you're looking at here is a Series 10 uh, Les Paul copy, and the Series 10 company is an oddball company that people from the 80s most likely remember. They had really like different ads on their channel that made these guitars a lot different than most of the guitars that were out at the time. They used sexy women in ads and all that, with bikinis and all that to advertise these guitars. And the main company of the guitar brand is who made these guitars was SLM, which is the St. Louis Music Company. And when they made these guitars, the Series 10 started between 1985 through 1998. But as far as I know, it's actually, I'm going to say 1982 to 1998 with my personal research. But this is just a great copy of a Les Paul. It's basically a Black Beauty replica. This is all original except for the switch here has been upgraded. Okay. And this is definitely a curved top guitar with a really nice thick piece of light mahogany on top. These are Alnico pickups, as your standard for two one-tone one volume, etc. Guys, Series 10 is just a really great company that made guitars that to really entice people, and the main company for SLM was the St. Louis Music Company. I mean, excuse me, was Alvarez. Then Bentley was their second best, and then Series 10 was more their entry level to their company. Austin Guitars are the brand that produces their guitars these days, but this is just a really, really, really nice replica of an awesome guitar. The tuners were actually upgraded also to the Genco tuners. I don't know how they can see that from here, but they were actually upgraded to the Genco uh, tuners, which are actually really nice tuners. They rival the Grovers. These are like basically Asian Grover tuners, and made in Korea. Now, the early Series 10 guitars, oh, serial number, that doesn't matter. I don't care about that personally. The early Series 10 guitars, the first few years were actually, they had ones that were made in America. And they continued that for a number of years. Then, by the time the late 80s came, they started outsourcing like every other guitar company did, started outsourcing guitars to Korea, Japan, etc. And when people were thinking that Japan was creating not that well, so to speak, built guitars, we find out these days that the guitars are actually made very well. And that's actually a quality nut. Maple fretboard is binding, and actually, if you look at the side here, it's actually binded to the end. They did a really good job. That goes to show you that the definition to detail is very high for a guitar like this here. And they're very undervalued these days, guys. That's one thing I want to say. Underappreciated, undervalued. Literally, a Les Paul like this, when you can find it, because guys are keeping these guitars because they know that in the next so many years that these guitars are going to go up in price. So they're holding on to these guitars, so to speak. I finally got one. I've always wanted one of these Series 10 guitars, and it plays like butter. If you look at my channel, I have really nice Les Pauls. I actually have a Gibson that I probably will do a review on. Like I said, guys, I have all those guitars, the Gibsons, all that stuff like that, but I specialize in these Asian guitars. I just love the Asian guitars, and for their affordability, but the mindset of the Asians to make it just like the Americans is what people got to realize what they were trying to do.